It starts with a cramp. Not a vision, not some voice from the heavens. A simple cramp. It's 1958. We're talking about a wealthy, conservative business executive in Virginia.
The kind of guy who goes to church on Sundays.
Exactly. Flies gliders for fun, runs a huge corporation. He is about as far from a guru as you can possibly get.
You're describing the last person on Earth you'd expect to become a pioneer of consciousness exploration.
Right. I mean, think Don Draper, but a happily married family man. So he's lying down for a nap one Sunday, and bam, this iron-hard knot hits him right in the solar plexus.
And that cramp is basically the beginning of the end of his normal life.
It's the inciting incident. And for Robert Monroe, the author of Journeys Out of the Body, which is the book we're deep diving into today, this wasn't some kind of gift.
No, it was a medical emergency. He was convinced he had food poisoning or something.
But it wasn't the lasagna.
It was not the lasagna. That cramp was just the physical prelude. The real show starts about 3 weeks later.
Oh.
Monroe's experimenting with these sleep learning tapes, you know, a big fad in the 50s.
Oh, yeah, trying to learn French in your sleep.
Exactly that. And in the middle of a nap, a beam hits him.
A beam? What do you mean, like a laser?
He describes it as a ray of vibration. Coming from the north specifically, it strikes him, and his entire body just starts to shake violently.
Wow.
He feels like he's hooked up to a jackhammer or, you know, stuck in a high-voltage circuit. He can't move. He's just vibrating.
So, of course, being a pragmatic guy, he assumes the worst.
He thinks he's dying or having a seizure. He fights his way out of it. He's pouring sweat, heart's racing. He sits up, and it stops.
And he lies back down.
And bam, it starts right back up again. This goes on for weeks. The poor guy is terrified to go to sleep. He's sure he has a brain tumor, maybe latent epilepsy.
So he does the responsible thing. He sees a doctor.
He sees all the doctors. He runs the full gauntlet. His friend, Dr. Richard Gordon, an internist, then a psychologist, Dr. Foster Bradshaw. Every test they had in 1958.
And the verdict.
He's a specimen, perfectly healthy, physically sound, mentally sharp.
So what do they say?
Dr. Bradshaw basically looks at him and says, "Look, Bob, you're not crazy, you're not sick, I can't explain it."
Wow.
And then he gives this amazing advice. He says, "If it were me, I'd just go out in the woods and keep trying until I figured out what this is."
That is some seriously bold medical advice. Go play with the mysterious vibrating beam, Bob. Good luck.
It's easy to say when you're not the one shaking, right? But Monroe listens. He decides to stop fighting it. And that leads to the breakthrough. The moment this whole story shifts genres from medical mystery to science fiction.
This is the hand incident.
The hand incident. He's lying in bed, the vibrations are roaring, and just out of curiosity, he tries to move his hand. He scrapes his fingers along the rug next to the bed.
Okay, normal enough.
Except his fingers don't stop. They go through the rug.
What?
Through the rug. Through the floorboards. He says he can feel the rough wood of the floor joists. He feels a nail head. He feels the sawdust on the ceiling of the room below him.
Wait, hold on. This is the part that always gets me. His brain is getting sensory feedback.
Real tactile feedback. The grit of sawdust, the cold of the nail.
But his physical arm is still upstairs in bed.
Exactly. And that convinces him this isn't a dream. In a dream, things are fluid, right? Walls melt, text changes. This was physical. It was physics, but it was just wrong.
So he pulls his hand back.
Yeah.
And that's the prelude to the first full separation.
It is. A little while later, he thinks about gliding, his hobby, right? And he just lifts out, floats up. He bumps against something smooth, thinks it's a wall.
It's the ceiling.
It's the ceiling. He turns over, looks down, and sees two people in his bed.
The classic out-of-body moment. The horror movie shot.
He sees his wife, and next to her, he sees a man, a still grayish figure.
And his first thought isn't, who's that guy with my wife?
No, it's worse. He thinks, I've died. He recognizes that the man is him. He's looking at his own corpse.
Oh, man.
Total panic. He dives back into his body like a man jumping onto a lifeboat. He basically crash lands back into himself.
But he wakes up. He's alive.
He's alive. And once the adrenaline wears off, the businessman takes over. The engineer takes over. He realizes he's navigating what he calls a second body.
Right.
And he decides if he's going to keep his sanity, he needs data. He needs proof.
This is what makes Monroe so unique. Most people in this situation would maybe start a religion. Monroe started a quality assurance department.
He treats it like a business problem. He calls the physical world locale, and he starts running experiments. And some of the hits he gets are, very hard to explain away.
Like the incident with Dr. Bradshaw.
The same psychologist who told him to go into the woods. Monroe decides to fly to Bradshaw's house. Now, he knows Bradshaw is homesick with a cold.
So logic says he should be in bed. If it were a dream, that's what he'd see, right?
Exactly. Your expectation would drive the dream. But he doesn't see that. He sees Bradshaw and his wife walking outside near their garage. He makes a mental note of their clothes, what they're doing.
And the confirmation.
He calls them up later. And Bradshaw's wife confirms it. They were outside at that exact time wearing those exact clothes. He got data his physical eyes couldn't have seen and his brain couldn't have just guessed.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But, a skeptic could say coincidence. But the pinch,
Yeah.
the RW pinch is the one that really gets under my skin.
Yes. This is where it gets physical.
Walk us through that one.
Okay, so he visits a friend, RW, who's on vacation. He finds her. She's in a kitchen having a drink with two other women he's never seen before.
And she can't see him.
Can't see him, can't hear him. He's a ghost. He's waving, shouting, nothing.
The classic dilemma. You're there, but you're not there.
So he gets frustrated. He decides he has to make some kind of physical impact. He reaches out with his non-physical hand and pinches her hard, right on her side.
He assaults his friend for science.
For science. And he gets a reaction. He sees her jump. He returns to his body. Later, when she's back from her trip, he asks her, hey, did anything weird happen Saturday night? She confirms the time, the setting, the two strangers. And then she lifts up her shirt.
No.
And there's a bruise on her side. A physical mark left by a non-physical hand.
Okay, that gives me chills. That moves this whole thing from mental projection into something interacting with biological tissue.
It implies the second body has some kind of energy that can be converted to force. There's one more big one, the Banson visit. An inventor friend, Agnew Banson.
Right.
He visits him and sees him loading this very strange, very specific machine into his car.
What kind of machine?
Something with a big ball on top. Monroe describes it in detail. Later, Banson confirms he was loading a Van de Graaff generator, a large electrostatic machine, into his sedan.
You don't just get that. You don't wake up and think, I bet Agnew's loading a particle accelerator into his Buick today.
Exactly. So Monroe proves to himself that he can visit the real-world locale. He's got the data. But here's the twist.
Yeah?
He kind of stops doing it.
Why? I mean, if you could fly anywhere, spy on anyone, why would you stop?
Because it's actually really annoying.
No.
Yeah. He explains that our brains are wired to see the world from eye level. We know what a front door looks like. We have no idea what that same house's roof looks like from 200 feet up.
Oh, right. He talks about getting lost and having to follow power lines like a confused pigeon.
Constantly. He couldn't read street signs. It was exhausting. And after the novelty wore off, kind of boring. He wanted to know what else was out there.
And that boredom is what pushes him into the deep end. This is where the book goes from ghost dad to something much, much weirder. He finds locale 2.
Locale 2. If locale is the world of matter, locale is the world of thought.
Okay, but it's not just a dreamscape where you can do whatever you want. It has rules, a different kind of physics.
Very strict rules. And the primary law of locale second is like attracts like.
Let's unpack that. It sounds like something you'd see on a motivational poster.
Well, in our world, if you're an angry person, you can still go sit in a peaceful garden, right? Your internal state doesn't immediately change your physical location. In locale 2, that's impossible, because movement isn't physical, it's mental. If you think of a person, you're instantly with them. But more importantly, if you are vibrating with, say, anger, the environment itself pulls you toward other angry entities.
It's a gravity well of emotion.
Precisely. Fear attracts fear. Love attracts love. It makes thought control an absolute survival skill. He calls it an immensity where thought is the wellspring of existence.
Which would be incredibly dangerous for a beginner. I mean, who can actually control all their thoughts? You're just constantly summoning your own nightmares.
It's a trial by fire, but my favorite detail from locale second has to be the sign in the sky.
Oh, I love this story. It's so petty and so deeply human.
Isn't it? He's floating in this infinite void, and he sees this massive, crude billboard. It has stick figures and equations on it, like a kid's drawing, but on a cosmic scale.
And he asks the local, what's the deal with that?
Right. One of the helpers, we'll get to them, explains the backstory. Turns out, a wealthy woman felt she was scammed by her church on Earth. So when she died and realized the power of thought here, she didn't find peace. She used all her focus to create a permanent billboard shaming them.
It's a cosmic Yelp review.
Exactly. And because it's a thought form in a world governed by thought, no one can tear it down. The local scientists just have to study it as this permanent, weird anomaly. Human grudges can literally transcend death.
So you have the physical world, locale first, the thought world, locale the second, but then he finds locale the third, and this is the part that genuinely baffled me when I first read it.
Locale the Third is the most mysterious part of the book. It's not a thought world like Locale Third. It feels physical. There's gravity, solid objects, people with jobs. But it isn't our world.
The technology is all wrong. It's almost steampunk.
It's a completely divergent timeline, a society with no electricity, no internal combustion engines. They have huge locomotives powered by vats of, like, radioactive steam or boiling chemicals.
And the cars have tillers, not steering wheels.
Right. Huge cars with bench seats for 6 people, and you steer with a horizontal bar.
And Monroe isn't just an observer here. He merges with someone.
There, he calls him. He merges with his counterpart in this world, a guy who's also an architect, but a less successful, lonelier version of himself.
That raises some deep questions for me. Monroe just pops into this guy's head.
And causes total chaos. Monroe calls himself a glitch in this man's life. He takes over the body, but he doesn't know the local customs. He tries to drive one of those weird cars and runs it into the dirt.
And he messes up the guy's relationship.
He does. He interacts with the man's love interest, Leah, but he has none of the shared history. He's clumsy. He creates all this friction. It's basically a case of possession.
So what is this place? A parallel dimension, an antimatter world.
Monroe leans toward a parallel timeline. Physically consistent, but historically divergent. It suggests our consciousness might be multidimensional, that maybe we're living multiple lives at once and he just accidentally changed the channel.
Wow. Okay, we have to talk about the ecosystem of these places. Monroe is very clear that he is not alone out there. And it's not all friendly.
It is a jungle. Just because you're out of body doesn't mean you're at the top of the food chain. He talks about the suckers.
Which sound just as gross as the name implies.
They are little fish-like parasites that latch onto the second body. He describes them as a nuisance layer you have to pass through, like walking through a cloud of gnats that want to feed on your energy.
And the child thing, that one is really creepy.
That is deeply unsettling. A humanoid thing that looks like a 10-year-old climbs onto his back. But when he tries to pull it off, its flesh feels like rubber. It stretches. It's not a child. It's a mimic.
He actually gets into a fist fight, doesn't he?
In a hotel room. An invisible animal-like entity attacks him. He has to physically, well, non-physically wrestle it and throw it out the window. It's a real fight for survival.
But he does get some backup.
Yeah.
The helpers.
Yes. But notice he doesn't call them angels. They aren't warm and fuzzy. They're purposeful. They steer him. They pull him out of his body if he gets stuck. One time, a helper takes him to a library to teach him something.
But he can't read the book.
The print is too small. It's like they're trying to educate a toddler. The gap in perception is just massive. Which brings us to the biggest intelligence of all, the concept of God.
Monroe was a churchgoer. So did he find the guy with the white beard sitting on a throne?
Not even close. What he finds is the signal.
Describe that, because it sounds completely overwhelming.
In Locale II, he sees this ritual. At certain times, all the beings there lie down, belly up, in this posture of total submission.
Okay.
And this roaring musical force passes over them. He calls it an irresistible living force.
But it's not a person. You can't talk to it.
It's totally impersonal, like a train roaring past or a tsunami of pure energy. It commands absolute respect, but it doesn't stop to chat. It suggests a hierarchy of power so vast that our human ideas of personality just don't apply.
Humbling. But let's bring it back to something personal. Monroe uses this ability to do what I think we all wish we could do. Visit people we've lost.
This is the real emotional core of the book. Without this, it's just a strange travelogue. But he visits his friend Dr. Gordon, the first doctor he saw, after Gordon dies of cancer.
And what does he find?
He finds him in a room with other people. But Gordon isn't the old, sick man who died. He looks 22. He has this shock of blonde hair. He's full of energy. Monroe almost doesn't recognize him.
And being Monroe, he fact-checks it.
Of course he does. He goes to Gordon's widow in our world and asks to see old photo albums. And there it is, a picture of Gordon at age 22 looking exactly as Monroe saw him in the afterlife.
So what's the takeaway there?
That maybe the self-image we carry into death isn't the one we die with. Maybe we revert to our prime, the version of ourselves we identified with most strongly.
He also visits his father.
Right. A reunion in a place that looks like a hospital. His father grabs him and swings him around, just filled with joy like he did when Monroe was a little kid. And he says 3 words that just stick with you. the pain is gone.
The pain is gone. That's the heavy hitter.
It changed Monroe's entire philosophy. The fear of death just evaporated for him. He started seeing the physical body as just a vehicle, a machine you use for a while and then, you park it.
So as we wrap this up, Monroe leaves us with this really provocative idea about sleep.
Hmm.
He suggests that maybe what he learned to do isn't unique. He just learned how to remember it.
Right. He talks about a barrier, a mental mechanism that wipes our memory of these travels when we wake up. He suggests that we might all be doing this every single night.
That we're all citizens of Locale 7, but we just have amnesia every morning.
It really makes you wonder about those dreams where you're flying or those dreams where you're living a completely different life in some strange city. Is that just random neurons firing? Or are you the I there for someone else?
So the question we want to leave you with today is this. When you close your eyes tonight, where are you actually going? And will you remember any of it when your alarm goes off? See you on the next deep dive.